The chair recognizes Mr. Rutherford for 5 minutes for his questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member. And Admiral, thank you for being here today. I want to talk about a little bit about the future of the Coast Guard's aviation. Because as your responsibility grows to support not only maritime security, but defense missions continue to increase and become ever more critical to our national security, I'm concerned about the mission readiness of our fixed wing and rotary wing aviation fleets. It seems like there's been, prior to you, somewhat of a disjointed response to the aviation planning, and that a comprehensive strategy would help ensure that there are no gaps in readiness. And one of the things that we actually included in the FY23 Coast Guard reauthorization bill was a request for a study like that. So three quick questions on the aviation issue, Admiral. Does the Coast Guard have the aviation assets required to fill its operational missions today? Number two, when should we or can we expect the aviation strategy called for in the 23 Coast Guard reauthorization? And then finally, while I understand the move to want to move to a single platform because of the commonality of training and maintenance and all of that, one of the things that I worry about is if all of these assets are being kind of handed down, a lot of them, I understand, are reaching end of life. And so that could create some gaps in the not too distant future. Could you talk about your openness to a mixed fleet if that were necessary to put that off? And I'd like you to tell me how we can help you achieve whatever your new plan turns out to be.
Thank you for the questions, Congressman, about the aviation fleet mix and where we're going. And so we had an opportunity to come up and brief the committee staff on an initial readout of our aviation strategy going forward, following on for the requirement in the Authorization Act. But we have more work to do. And part of that is an ongoing analysis of alternatives of what that fleet mix should be across our rotary wing, our helicopters, and also our fixed wing fleet. And so that will also include, I see, an increase in our long-range uncrewed or unmanned aerial systems. That's work we've been doing for years in a joint program office approach with Customs and Border Protection, and I see that as a key component going forward. But that will be borne out in on the analysis of alternatives as we work to refine that aviation strategy. So part of our challenge is that we have been operating airframes, particularly the helicopters, to the end of their service life. In some cases, like for our 860 that's built by Sikorsky, well beyond what anyone else in the world operates, which is why we found ourselves in a difficult position late last year, where for those hulls that we had operated beyond 19,000 hours, Sikorsky communicated concerns that they did not have data to support that operation beyond that point. And so we had to ground those aircraft with high time hours until we can go through and replace the key components that take them over that limit. And that's just a symptom that even though we can operate aircraft to that level, we should not be. We should be investing in new aircraft and recapitalizing those, and then have an appropriate mix to meet not only the demands of today, but the demands of the future. Part of the Force Design 2028 effort that Secretary Noem has directed and discussed will be to look at what the Coast Guard's operating concepts are in the future, and also what our force structure and force design is, including our aviation mix, and how that fits within the broader mix of assets across our ships, boats, aircraft, and shore facilities. And we look forward to working with the committee on those needs and the level of investment required to modernize the future fleet and get to that point.
Thank you, Admiral. And I've got just 30 seconds left. But you kind of segued into my next question, which deals with the unmanned systems. And one of the things that I'd like is can you talk about the resources you need to get that long endurance aerial unmanned program off the ground for something like an MQ-9 or some other system and the importance that that plays in offsetting your needs in the current aviation fleet.
Congressman, I look forward to working with you and the members of the subcommittee to provide greater detail on that information as we move forward on budget reconciliation, and we look forward to the release of the President's budget request for FY26. But we've already done very strong work with CBP on the importance and the value of the long-range UAS. The MQ-9 is what we operate with CBP.
Thank you. I see my time's expired. I yield back. Thank you.
Ms. Henson, the floor is yours for 5 minutes for questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Admiral. Again, thank you for coming to testify before our subcommittee. The Coast Guard plays such an important role, as you've already touched on a number of topics, from interdiction